Hey everybody, welcome to Math with Ace, focusing on statistics with Ace today. We're going to learn how to create a scatter plot in Stapplet, which is a free applet you can find online at stapplet.com. We have a situation here where we're talking about miles driven and price. Now, the context of this problem is that this is about Ford F-150s and how the miles that you drive affect the price of the vehicle. And when we looked at interpreting slope and intercept in a previous video, we saw that this had a negative relationship, but we want to actually see that in the picture and see what we can do with that information. Now, the first thing that you need to do is decide which variable is the independent variable and which one is the dependent variable if you're not already given that information. If you're given the information that says use this for X and this for Y, you're good to go. If not, you need to think about, does one have an effect on the other? Like, does smoking cause cancer or does cancer cause smoking? You want to try and think about both ways and see which one makes more sense as to which one is the independent that causes the change and the dependent. So when we're looking at this data, we have two. This is bivariate data, which means we have two variables, miles driven and price. And so that is two, and they're numerical. So when we look at data analysis on Stapplet, the free resource, stapplet.com, you have categorical, this is not categorical, and you have quantitative. And we have two quantitative variables. So we're going to select two quantitative variables. And then it asks us for the explanatory and the response. Explanatory is another word for independent variable. We learned that in experimentation and design. Response is another word for the dependent variable. So we're talking about miles driven or distance driven in miles. Let's do that. Distance driven, and then I'm going to put that in parentheses in miles. And then the response is the cost of the truck, and this is in dollars. Now, next to those things is where we want to put the values, and it recommends that you separate them by commas or spaces. I don't know if I'm going to be able to copy from a table. Let's see what I get here. Okay, so all I did was I highlighted the data and then I was able to copy and paste. But if you notice, I didn't copy everything. I have 447. So if I wanted to, I could hand enter the rest of these, or I could copy and paste it. You can put a comma. We just want to make sure that all of the data is there and in order. Okay, so if we don't have all of our data there, which we do, we would get a mismatch. It would tell us there's an error. So now we're going to copy the data for the price. But please understand that the order in which you enter the data matters. The 70,583 miles goes with the price of 21,994. Those two go together. So the way in which the table is written is very important that you keep that order. And I went all the way to 22,986. So I need these last five values just as with the other one. So I'm going to go into the table and I'm going to paste these values, and then I'm going to verify that I pasted those values. Okay. So again, you could enter comma, you could do this by hand. I do feel like doing it by hand leaves more room for error. So now what I want to do is I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to begin my analysis. And when I begin my analysis, my scatter plot is created for us. The explanatory is the X values. So I would have plotted a point at 70,583. And then I would have gone, so 70,583 on the y-axis, probably around here, right in the middle. And then I would have gone up to 21,994 for cost. Oh, there you go, right there. That's the point. So that X value first, Y value, they meet and you make a dot. So each of these corresponds to one truck, and it has the dollars that it costs and the miles that they're driven. This is how you create a scatter plot. So you want to name your variables because you definitely want your axes to be labeled. And then you want to put in the values that you have there. Other information is that once we've done that and we've created our scatter plot, is we want to be able to describe the relationship using strength, form, direction, and context. Is this positive? Is it negative? Is it a line? Is it curved? Is it strong? Is it weak? Those are things you want to do. So the strength comes from the correlation coefficient, which we are actually going to calculate in our next set of videos. So strength matters based on the correlation coefficient between the two. There's an actual calculation that we use. The form is, does it look like a line? Does it look like a curve? If I was to imagine drawing something in there, does it look like a line? I think this is a line. And then the direction, it's going as my numbers get bigger on the x-axis, my cost gets smaller. So that's an inverse relationship. So we call that a negative relationship. And when we're talking about context, I'm talking about when my distance driven increases, my cost of the truck decreases, which means that there's a negative relationship. So I want to be talking about the distance. I want to be talking about the cost. Notice in Stapplet, I'm asked, do I want to calculate the correlation coefficient? Calculates it for me. Do I want to calculate the least squares regression line? Absolutely. And then a bunch of other things pop up. This is excellent. And then I get my equation. This is what you saw earlier for the slope, not the same exact equation, but there's all sorts of information that you can get from Stapplet, which is an excellent resource. So for now, what we want to be able to do is put in the points, click Begin Analysis, and get the picture. And then we'll do other things with it. So remember, bivariate data, you have two variables, miles and price, and you want to be dealing with numerical data because these are numbers. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.